No Man's Sky 4.0, the Waypoint update, has had a rocky start with some of the fans due to its inventory changes, but this update has some amazing changes in it, even if you aren't a fan of that one. The new catalogue alone is epic. The icons for this new information portal were data mined in the last update, and I covered it in a video, and it's everything we'd hoped and more. The guide, catalogue and milestones UI pages have been merged into one unified information portal and given a visual overhaul. A dedicated catalogue has been added for gathering stories and information from planetary sites such as monoliths, plaques, abandoned buildings and more. Specific catalogue pages have been added to record refiner recipes learned via experimenting with various sized refiners available. A specific catalogue page has been added to record any cooking recipes learned from experimenting with the nutrient processor. Not only do we have a much more sleek catalogue of just about everything, but the story, logs and recipe pages are really great. I don't need an insane spreadsheet to track if I've cooked every recipe now, it's built in. The extreme survival journey milestone has been reworked so that it counts cumulative time spent in extreme environments rather than the longest continual time spent in an extreme environment without dying. This is a great one, they've finally reworked. It wasn't obvious how it counted until you really observed it. As well as the glorious new information portal, game difficulty aspects have been massively improved and made customizable. All the core difficulty and other differences between the game modes have been reworked into a new framework that players can adjust as they see fit. All existing game modes have been retained as quick and easy presets, minus permadeath. You can do it, but it's not actually in there, and can be selected as before when starting a new game. Alternatively, players can now choose to create a custom game where all settings are fully customizable. Expedition and permadeath games will remain in their own pool for the purposes of matchmaking and base sharing. All other game modes have been unified so that players can explore together, whatever their difficulty preferences. Which is pretty cool. This particular note is very important. Expedition saves, until they are turned into another base difficulty, have their own player-based universe, meaning that only other expedition saves can see the bases. This is the same for permadeath, though previously survival and permadeath saves could see each other's bases. This is now no longer the case, as permadeath is the one main game mode or setting that has limitations to other difficulty settings, and has been separated largely for the integrity of the achievements, etc., I would imagine. An additional game mode has been added to this list, Relaxed mode. Relaxed is the full normal mode experience, but with significantly reduced need to manage survival systems and maintain technology and resources. Overall, I really like how they've done the difficulty settings and game modes. It gives a lot more freedom to play how you want. It doesn't allow for some of the bespoke custom challenge modes we were hoping for, like no ship, but that could happen in the future. There are a lot of changes here that people have been asking for, and they've delivered on. If you want to see a full breakdown of all of the new customization settings and what they do exactly, I released a video a few hours ago going through all of them. I'll link it at the end of the video. Saves have also had a bit of a rework. HG have introduced auto-saving beyond just getting in and out of your ship. The game now saves very often. However, this extra saving method is kept separate from your purposeful manual and auto-saving, though you only get one now, not a manual and an autosave. You can still do pretty much all the reloading stuff you could before, you just have to think about it a bit more, like you would have had to anyway for survival or permadeath. The autosave system has been reworked. Instead of saving when getting out of the ship, the game now autosaves silently and automatically during regular play. A full save is still made at all times a save was made before, including getting out of the ship. Players may now rename their saves. This option is found in the main menu once a save has been loaded. This is real nice and something half the player base was asking for recently. Naming our save is going to make it so much easier to know what's what. The most recent player location is now displayed in the save summary. This is also quite a cool little addition. There are a number of visual upgrades in this one, and whereas with the other section I just picked the notes to show for what I thought was most important and that you would care about, I think most of these are noteworthy as a quick read. To skip this section, jump to the time on screen now. No Man's Sky on PC now supports AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution 2, a cutting-edge open-source temporal upscaling solution, providing high image quality and improved frame rate. One take, yo. The visual variety of NPCs found aboard freighters has been increased. The smoothness of third-person player movement on slopes has been significantly improved. The Fleet Command Room Freighter component has been visually overhauled and given new visual effects. New rare asteroid variations have been added to the systems across the galaxy. The freighter hangar entrance effects have been significantly improved. The space station docking bay entrance effects have been significantly improved. Atmospheric effects across the entire space anomaly have had a visual overhaul. Visual atmospherics throughout the Atlas station have been significantly improved. The visual effects used when harvesting sodium, oxygen and other small plants have been improved. The cave drip visual effects have been improved. The landing and ground hover effects for the living ship, you guessed it, have been improved. This actually looks really cool now. The visual effects for plaques and word stones have been significantly improved. Now we come to the really hot topic of this update, the inventory changes. Inventory pages have been given a visual overhaul, including new backgrounds and new item slot styles and backgrounds. Okay, good so far. Inventories such as the ship, exosuit, freighter, etc. are no longer subdivided into multiple pages. Technology and cargo inventories are displayed together on one page. Okay, interesting. So what about my tech? General inventories have been removed. Items and technology are now separated into their own inventories. All existing saves have been upgraded to combine their slots accordingly so that no items or unlocked slots have been lost. Sadly, this may not be quite true. You see, on my launch day normal mode save, the exosuit has indeed been combined, and the old tech that was displaced is now neatly packaged in tradable containers. Swish. My ship, however, while the technology in both my main and technology inventories is completely gone, with no packaged tech. There is a small chance that this is actually my fault, and from previous testing on stats where I deleted everything and tested a number of others, I forgot to revert to a backup after. So I'll ask now whether this specific thing has happened to anyone else. If your technology is packaged, etc., then you are all good. You haven't actually lost anything and can even store that perfect tech you spent time obtaining on another ship. The maximum number of slots per inventory has been significantly increased, with 120 item slots and 60 technology slots now available. There is a bug with this, it doesn't allow for full upgrading to 60 and 120. However, there is a supposed fix in experimental for this already. Inventory sections are now able to scroll to accommodate these increased sizes. Exocraft now make use of the technology inventory. Exocraft inventories have been generally expanded. Storage container and ingredient storage inventories have been significantly increased, up to 50 slots each. This is just crazy. 50 slots per storage container is mega. Super happy about that change. The cost of purchasing new slots has been generally reduced. Considering how many we can now have, this makes a lot of sense. Players can now choose exactly which slot to unlock when purchasing new slots. This is an unexpected quality of life change, as instead of waiting for a full line of tech inventory to open up before you can make a cube and such, you can just make the cube right away for your adjacency goodness. Item inventories can now be filtered to highlight specific item types. Players can now adjust stack sizes and manually choose slots when arranging items inside storage or ingredient containers. It's weird we couldn't do this before. When transferring items to another inventory via quick transfer, free space is now represented as the number of slots rather than item counts. When transferring items to storage containers via quick transfer, the item will be placed in a container that already contains other items of that type, rather than into the first available slot. Refunded items such as fuel from refiners or frigate upgrades from cancelled expeditions can now be refunded into inventory with space, rather than only into specific inventories. Log encryption keys, factory override units and salvage frigate modules have had their icons updated. Starship storage augmentations, cargo bulkheads and multi-tool expansion slots and exosuit expansion slots have also had their icons updated. Drop pod coordinate data has been replaced with an exosuit upgrade chart that leads players directly to drop pods without having to use the signal booster. The charts can be found while exploring or purchased from a cartographer aboard the space station. This is another cool one, making them far easier to find makes them a much more viable inventory increase mechanism. Originally I liked the idea of the new inventory, all being in one screen, and didn't get why so many disliked the tech being on top. However, it is a little odd in feel to use. I just like having two separate windows on that one screen. Once you get fairly far into upgrading your inventory, they will start to require scrolling to see everything, and I'm someone who takes in the entire image before narrowing down what I'm looking for. I don't look bit by bit. I can only assume many other players also do this. If the technology and cargo inventories were separated, with the current layout you would still have scrolling on the main cargo, as you couldn't fit more than 80 on the screen in the current design, but it would be much better at least. Other options would be to have the grid in 12 wide, which would only mean scrolling 2 more lines at the bottom. This feels like a good compromise, but it does screw with HG's overall menu design. 15 wide to fit all on screen at once would look very messy, and while I'd personally probably like it, I'm not a graphic designer. It's still early days in the update, so I'm hopeful that HG will reconsider having tech and cargo on separate pages again. Even with the 80 cargo visible, to scroll for the last 40 is way better than the current. We can organise our inventories around it using the last 40 for static staples. Now we have a whole bunch of quality of life changes. All menu and options screens have received a visual overhaul. Players may now construct a trade rocket upgrade for their exosuit. This allows the deployment of a personal rocket via the quick menu. Items loaded into the rocket and launch will be automatically sold. I've heard this might be a little buggy at the moment, but I haven't had a chance to test it out myself yet, so just be careful with expensive stuff right away and check your unit count before and after to ensure it's performing correctly. Players may now package up any installed technology into deployable item, which can be archived in storage or redeployed to a new location. Not only are displaced tech auto-changed to this, but we can do it ourselves and move tech from one ship to another or even character, which is super cool. When crafting complex items, players can now view detailed interactive crafting steps, which will take them step by step through the entire tree of requirements and sub-requirements. I swear, they've been trying to make my Stasis Mega Guide redundant, though it's still quite useful, so go check it out guys. It's looking to be my first ever video to reach 1 million views, and it's just so dang useful. The number of communication station icons displayed is now capped in areas that are dense with many messages. This is a godsend for anyone on low performance tech. Interaction targeting has been improved so that nearby objects are highlighted without the need to aim at them precisely. Another great one, trying to interact with a teleport on a freighter has been murder. Crafting products and installing technologies now both use the same button. I thought to include this as I've seen some ask how they can install technology now. It's all just the same button. Players can now disable first person head bob effects from the main menu. A number of instances where the cursor was being reset to the centre of the screen during interactions has been fixed. The Quicksilver companion robot will now give advice on how to earn Quicksilver. Quality of life continues with mission improvements. The base computer archive mission chain has been reworked to remove timers. The archives are now unlocked by decrypting its various passwords, achieved via learning new pieces of alien language. The rewards for the base computer archive mission chain have been improved. Unfortunately, I cannot yet find out what they have improved to. Missions involving the player's base now respond dynamically to the construction of new bases. When moving to a new system or building a new base, the mission system will attempt to locate the mission at the nearest appropriate base, rather than whichever was closest at the time the mission began. Mission board rewards have been generally improved, so they are of higher value. Mission board rewards now more strongly correlate to the player's standing with the commissioning faction, with high ranks earning better rewards. We've also had some improvements into bringing the Dune parody expedition content a little more into normal game. The Val spawn dropped from the vessels spawned at Titan worm burrows can now be collected. Collecting Val spawn may yield the secrets of the worm cult who worship them. Val spawn physics have been improved so they no longer roll away at high speeds. Val spawn are now highlighted by the scanner and analysis visor. Next we have more great changes covering various aspects of the game, lots of small details. The analysis visor's base scanning speed has been significantly increased, making it faster to discover creatures, plants and minerals. Damaged objects encountered in the world, such as cargo crates in the wrecks of freighters, are now far more likely to require a repair that can be resolved in place, rather than necessitating gathering additional materials. The amount of Quicksilver rewarded by standard Nexus missions, as well as special weekend event Nexus missions, have been increased. I do not yet know how much for the weekend mission, but it was 1,200 before and I'm expecting up to 2,000 now. The daily has increased from 250 to 400. This was needed with how many new Quicksilver items have been added since they introduced these. though unlocking on all save and Twitch drops etc. do make it quite easy too. Talking of Twitch drops, there will be Twitch drops for this update starting next week. I'll be streaming every day of the drops as usual, so drop on by and hang out while getting yourself some tasty in-game loot. The list of additional substances that can be gathered from planetary rocks and flora after successfully analysing them has been streamlined, to avoid polluting inventories with small numbers of a wide range of items. The range of items awarded as scrap when salvaging a starship has been decreased, to avoid unnecessarily polluting inventories and to make the salvaging process more streamlined. It's almost like they knew I'd spent many hours on a yet unreleased ship scrapping guide covering every possible scrapping and ship type. Back to the drawing board on this one. Deployable technology blueprints of the same type now stack, reducing the inventory slots required while waiting for the right time to use them. This is another amazing little improvement. So many slots were filled up with tech modules mostly the same. The amount of oxygen harvested from plants has been slightly increased. The amount of sodium harvested from plants has been slightly decreased, but sodium plants are now distributed more densely across planets. The sell price of storm crystals has been increased. Increasing the value of storm crystals is a surprising one, but it makes sense. It's a wild harvested or rare mission reward, so why not reward that versus large scale farming? The sell price of various raw materials gathered on planets has been decreased, to reward the creation of more complex trade items via crafting. This has also annoyed a lot of players, as activated Indian farms have been the go-to easy passive money making method for quite some time. On the plus side, I get to think of new farming methods, so stay tuned for epic money making guides folks. The purchase price of key survival materials in space station trade terminals has been increased. Extremely large mineral extractor arrays are now affected by diminishing returns, reducing the effectiveness of each additional unit over the cap. I'm unsure how to take this one. They had already done that. I'll be taking another look at this as they have likely changed the threshold again. Previously it was any network of extractors that produce more than 2,500 of a resource per hour suffer diminishing returns, so they have either reduced the threshold or increased the penalty. The potency of the oxygen recycler has been increased. Teleporters can no longer be used to avoid danger while smuggling illegal goods. This is a bit of a shame, as I like the idea of teleporting between pirate stations to gather lots. However, this change makes full sense, as you are clearly supposed to try and smuggle them via warping. More challenging game modes and difficulty settings now restrict the availability of key items at trade terminals, so that key survival items must be found or crafted instead of bought. When using high difficulty settings, the starship is significantly more expensive to summon than it is to launch when piloted, making the decision to summon rather than walk a more complex equation. On high difficulty settings, technology can be broken when taking damage. The chance scales with shield strength, so that more fully shielded travellers are largely safe. On all but the harshest settings, the base probability of technology breaking is very low. The damage technology is relevant to the type of damage received, so that, for example, extreme cold damage is more likely to break thermal hazard protection. There are a fair few building changes, but the only one that particularly struck me was fixed an issue that prevented players from picking up or editing already placed parts that had happened to be near a landed starship. This was infuriating, so a very welcome fix. There are also quite a few bug fixes, though most are related to minor things or very specific rare circumstances, so I've just picked the 4 most likely to interest you. Fixed a rare issue that could prevent living frigates from making contact with the player. Fixed an issue that caused the black market mining laser upgrades to have too few stat bonuses. Fixed an issue that caused the substance collection boost effect of the optical drill to affect all item collection, not just mining. This one is rough, another change that makes a part of the mega guide inaccurate. Fixed an issue that caused substance collection across the game to be drastically reduced when the soul laser is installed in your current multi-tool. And that is your lot. It's a huge lot, and I really cherry picked the ones you would most care about. The full patch is about double this, and it's linked below if you are so inclined to peruse. Thank you for watching folks, and remember to subscribe if you want more news and guides. There's a lot more coming this next couple weeks. Have a fantastic day.